to Speaking Highly with Jon Huck. I am your host, Jon Huck. With me until all the cows fall from the sky. No,
now you've combined two of the 2 weeks previous into one.
I had one earlier that I was like, oh, write that down. That's a good one. And I was like, no, you won't forget that. And then I forgot it.
Every time. Happens every time.
Yeah. How are you, Indy?
Doing good. You know, when
awesome.
the podcast hits the rocks, I think this is what the audience refers to as quality content, because it's humbling. You know, I think when we hit the rocks, it's fine. It's
What is that? When you hit the rocks? What?
What? Well, the show intro. The terrible job you just did.
Yeah. Oh, hit the rock. Oh, I see. Like we're on a boat. I see what you're doing.
You know.
Okay.
Sorry to use such a highfalutin
Dude,
analogy.
I thought it was some sort of technical thing where you're like, oh, hit the rocks. That's when the wires get crossed and the BNC cable.
Oh no. We have fully hit the rocks, and I think it's
Yeah, we have. Dancing, everybody. The topic today is dancing. We are celebrating dancing, moving, grooving, shaking your bones, feeling good, right? It's good. It's good for you. There's all kinds of dance. There's break, ballroom, classical, ballet, tap, pole, right? It's all good for you. Literally every kind of dance is good for you. Movement is good. The health benefits of dancing are, improves your heart, lung condition. Let's see, I got a list of it.
And
increases muscular strength.
Banned. You know, some places you can't dance.
Are you when John Lithgow? Are you going Footloose on me? Are you talking about Footloose? Are you talking about the town that John Lithgow tried to?
You're right.
Ban dancing
I'm
from?
sure there are some places where that's actually a thing, though.
I'm sorry we're doing this. I wish I would have asked Paige about if she's ever encountered anyone who.
I know that would have been a.
Our guest today is Paige Diaz. She's a co-owner of a dance studio in Culver City. But yeah, I wonder if she's ever had any John Lithgow types show up like, no dancing, it's against the Bible, or whatever his thing was. Like, also, where in the Bible does it say no dancing?
I don't know. It's just how you interpret it. It's all.
I interpret this to say no dancing. I forgot all about Footloose. What a great concept. I can't imagine. I mean, they did remake the movie, but selling that movie in the room, like, it's a movie about a town that doesn't like dancing. And a guy, we'll say Kevin Bacon, the kid from Friday the 13th, he comes to that town and he dances. And it drives everybody. And I mean, how do you pitch that? Like,
that's a solid pitch, I gotta say.
That was it. The guy's like, and green light. Well, I want to go the health benefits.
Yes.
Improves your heart and lung condition, increases muscular strength, endurance, motor skills, aerobic fitness, improved muscle tone and strength, weight management, stronger bones. Who doesn't want stronger bones? And a reduced risk of osteoporosis, better coordination, which I think most people could use, agility and flexibility. There's literally, I guess if you were like a really intense dancer, you could injure yourself like any kind of athlete, but for the most part, there's no bad dancing. You know what I mean? There's no dancing that's bad for you.
Yeah, unless you're like you like dance your way to sell a crack rock. You know.
Well, that's bad for you, but the dancing isn't the bad part. I think it would be the selling. The dancing is healthy, whereas the selling of the crack rock will be the thing that does you in. And then also this. Like when dance is taught in a class setting, we're going to kind of focus on dancing as a education, I guess, because one, our guest, we want to talk about her studio and everything she does there, but two, I think when you do kids, when like a younger kid will take a dance class, I think that group mentality, having other people around you who are doing it, I think it benefits them. I think kids learn quicker that way. And it also teaches them not to be self-conscious and, because that was a thing, you as a kid, you don't want to, I'm not different. I'm not weird. I'm just normal. I just want to fit in. But then like, I remember I took some breakdancing classes with my brother at the Warrenville Community Center, and it kind of gets you out of your shell, like I wasn't a good breakdancer, but
please tell me you have footage of that.
I have pictures, but this was before everyone had
put them on the screen.
this is before people had could take video of everything that they looked at.
How wrong of me
Thank
was
God, by the way. Thank God this was before that. But the class setting, I think, is super helpful.
No, I think that's a good point, again, John. Like along with sports, sports and like karate and martial arts, like they all have that team sports mentality, or like the learning how to be a part of a group and just learning in general. Whereas dance has a different element to it of like you have to conquer something inside you more so than a sport would be, right? Like you're not going to go make a layup and go, oh my God, did people see me make the layup? Like doing a dance move also, it requires a little bit of vulnerability.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point. I will say that, like, kids can be embarrassed by anything. And like, if you're not making layups, that can be just as terrifying as,
true. Yeah.
Being looked at for dancing. But like, yeah, there's the class mentality. I think it's a good thing. It's a good way to start. And, like dance used to be, what did they say? It was integrated into the education system in the early 1900s. So it's like started to be taught, like people started to teach dance. And then the first dance major was created by, her name was Margaret, and I think I'm saying this right, Hudubler. It's H''Doubler. And she was at the University of Madison, Wisconsin,
like
which is not where you'd think.
Is a dance move.
I did a Hudubler. It probably is now. They're like, oh yeah, it's a Hudubler. It's named after Margaret Hudubler, who created. But I think it's funny that came out of Madison, Wisconsin, was where the first dance major came from. Like,
wow,
that doesn't strike like you'd think it'd be like Russia or
like Paris,
I don't know, but like,
yeah.
and maybe it was. Maybe I've only got American info. Yeah, but and then in the '60s, dance went, 60s into 70s, dance went from being an educational thing to being like a performance art thing. Like you would go, it wasn't just I learned at Charleston. It was like you would go to see a ballet. You would go to see dancers, and I mean, that's the 70s. They called it the dance boom or whatever, but it's still today. Plays, musicals. It's like now dance performance is amazing, but it starts with learning to dance. Right. And I love, as a kid, like I said, I've always loved it. I liked to break dance. Remember going to my cousin's wedding and dancing. And then in middle school or grade school, did you ever take square dancing? No, you didn't have to learn square dancing?
Oh man. By the time I was in middle school, dude, but by the time I was in middle school, that song that was like, step to the right, clap 3 times, blah, blah, blah. Like that song was like playing in my middle school. We learned that.
Yeah, that's square dancing.
Slide to the left. No, I mean, I think it's called the electric slide. Slide to the left. Now freeze.
Okay. That's really funny.
So that song, the party song.
When I was in school, they went back to like when farmers would dance, and when you were in school, they went back to like when I would dance. The electric slide was like created when I was young.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to. I mean, we do-si-doed, like we promenaded. We did the whole thing, and like we did that. We did like other old timey dancing, like the Charleston, and we did something to Bad Leroy Brown. Maybe that was the Charleston. I can't remember. I don't know what the point of those dances would like. I've never, except for, I'll say if you can do them well, they can work to your advantage comedically later on in life. Because when you do something like that really well, you can be funny with it. And it's not like, I'm not just trying to be funny. It's like, I can do this and it's funny.
Definitely.
I just think that's like the benefit is to, and that movement and learning coordination. And I can't imagine that dancing doesn't help you become a better athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why football players take ballet. That's why, I mean,
well, it's just like agility, you're able to, core strength is there, everything's working together. Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing is when you dance, even when you're dancing as like if I'm spazzing out at a Grateful Dead show or whatever,
or like when you're playing an instrument, like they say, like most of your brain is working together, your motor system
and your body. Yeah, it's like it's all kind of, you have to sort of be in sync to make that go forward. And And again, learning at an early age, I think, is so key for instruments, music, and dance. I think it just falls right into that category.
Definitely.
I just think it's funny you never had to take square dancing.
No, now that I'm remembering it, I do remember, in PE class we did learn the hustle. I'm remembering that in middle.
The hustle, yeah, you did. You went right into when I was born, the dances that were popular when I was born,
and then when I
was in school.
PE teacher was, that's probably what she learned.
He was my age.
Right. Yeah,
she was my.
Yeah, because her daughter was actually one of my classmates.
All right, this is making me angry now. Dancing, it's so relaxing.
Born in '93.
But also, don't ever say it again. And I read this the other day. Just dancing in the morning and around the house, around the apartment, put a little pep in your step at the grocery store. Like that kind of shit works to your advantage. You know what I mean? It really does. It opens you up. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I can feel it. The difference of people who can cut a rug and have fun and not really care, and the people who are like, I don't. I don't. It's like,
even those people, their foot will tap.
They
there's
want
something.
to because they want to dance.
Exactly.
They want to dance.
Right.
Because they're human beings and they hear
another
music.
Interesting point too is it's something that dancing is something so. The access is there. Everybody could just move, right? Just it seems like it's one of those things that once you start learning it, it's interesting how actually hard it is to keep the steps, or challenging, not necessarily hard, but challenging to learn a new thing when it's something that we naturally kind of want to do anyway, right? Where it's we hear music, we love music, but learning music is another language, and dance is the same way.
Yeah, and you have to be present when you're dancing. You have to be for the most part, you can be blacked out at a concert and just throwing your body everywhere. But when you're
dancing that Paige is doing,
the dancing that Paige talks about that she teaches is not that dancing. That's like me at a fish show. I was like, hey, dude, why is this guy passed out in the lawn? He's having fun. Sure.
Yeah.
But that kind of, you have to be there. You have to be conscious of what you're doing and your space and your area and all that. So
and that's why dance is also an analogy for not dancing. To dance with death. You know what I mean? There's an intimate thing that comes along with the word itself. That requires a lot of it.
Interesting take.
Hey, this is speaking highly. This is what we do.
This is speaking highly. And that will be a great transition right into my conversation with Paige Diaz of the Diaz Studio of Dance in Culver City. And in case we edit out that intro I gave her where I had to stop and start a million times, she was an actress when she was a child, got into dance very early on. Her mom moved out to LA with her when she was 15. She's got 3 sisters. They all, at a certain point, decided they didn't really care about their jobs, or she didn't want to act. Dance was what they all loved. They opened this studio. It's pretty fantastic. I followed them just on Instagram and online because it was when I saw her post about not wanting to be an actress anymore, and then the next thing was we bought this space. I was like, oh, I really was like, I hope this works. Ooh. Because buying any building in Los Angeles and trying to start a business in this, it's very hard. It's very hard, and to maintain clientele. So they have seemingly thrived and done very well. And I think it's because of the general attitude of the women who teach there and the idea that it's about confidence through dance and being comfortable with who you are. So I guess that's a good place to start. Guys, enjoy Paige Diaz. Okay, Paige Diaz, ex-actress, I guess.
Yes.
Ex-child actor, but because you're an adult. Paige Diaz from Diaz Studio of Dance, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I think I met you through stand-up. That's correct, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And
you were an actor as a child.
I was a child actor from 3 months old. And then I stopped when I was like 25, 26.
Wow. And you grew up in the Midwest?
Grew up in Chicago. I moved to LA with my mom, with my stage mom, when I was 15.
Oh, okay. But still, from that early on, you must have been going to auditions in Chicago all the time as a kid.
Yes, I did countless commercials and print ads and things like that. And then when I was 15, I was like, I want to do movies and TV shows, and they're not doing that here. So my mom was like, okay, let's go.
Wow.
And left school, became homeschooled, and just started auditioning and working. And then by the age of 25, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
That's what I was going to say. A post you put up caught my eye, and I think this was, I want to say it was a few years ago, but my concept of time is skewed. Yeah. But I feel like I saw a post where you said something to the effect of, I don't want to act anymore. I'm tired of, and this is what, so many women hear when they go to audition is just, you're not right. And then it's a pick apart some body type. Mm-hmm. It's like, nah, your ass is too big, or no, you're too tall, or you're too, and your post was essentially like, I'm tired of that. I don't need that anymore.
It was a combination of an agent dropping me because I wouldn't go to a late night meeting at his office. And then a manager saying you're fit, but you're not really thin. So I don't think there's a lot of parts out there. And I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this anymore? I'm just done.
You weren't enjoying that. I mean, that's not an enjoyable thing. And then there were no benefits on top of that. It wasn't like, okay, I put up with this shit because then I'm working constantly
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I felt like at that time, I was like, I've had a decent career, and it's been 25 years long, which is long enough to retire.
And longer than, I mean, Hollywood entertainment industry is like the NFL. It's like, if you're here for longer than 3 years, you've really stuck it out.
Yeah. So, I was done. And I was always teaching. My day job was teaching dance classes. I was always teaching dance classes as my day job. And when I stopped acting, I was like, oh, that's what I actually enjoy doing. That's what actually is fulfilling and making me happy. And at the same time, my sisters, who all worked behind the scenes in the industry, one of my sisters came home from work and she was like, I like my job, but I just can't do it anymore. It's too much. Let's open up our own dance studio. And it's like, perfect timing. I quit too. Let's do it.
Wow. So that it all just sort of came together like that.
It all came. Yeah. I stopped. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I enjoyed teaching dance classes, but in my mind, I was like, how can I make enough money to really survive doing that? And that's when my sister was like, let's open our own dance studio. So
yeah, we'll encourage people to go to the website, but your sisters, you guys all look like a TV family, you know what I mean? Like, it's all like if you guys were like the Disney show of like the Disney dance, it's like, you're like, oh, okay, it's like a perfect Southern California fit, you know what I mean? Like, but I mean that in the best possible way.
Thank you. I took that as a compliment. So
yeah, okay, good. But it's just funny, you guys must be close then, because you have to work together now. Especially now, you're in business together.
It's one thing to work together. It's another to own a business together. And I know I'm lucky that I like my sisters enough to own a business with them, because I know that is not the case.
In a lot of families.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So sorry, is my earring hitting this earbud? Can you hear that?
I can when you do that, yeah, but only when we're all quiet and you.
Okay, I'm taking it off.
One hoop,
Paige. I know I'm lucky that we like each other enough to own a business together, and we are together. It feels like 24/7. I mean,
but that's with any business. If you guys were to open a restaurant, if you opened a bar, and you're the only ones really running it, and you're all the instructors plus the owners plus you have to be. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but you're like the account.
Everything. We do everything.
The stuff that like when you were like, oh, dancing, teaching dance, that makes me happy. and then when it's like, oh, let's go into business together, it's like comedy makes me happy. But then the idea of booking flights and travel and like there's work on top of that. And then you become, you're not just like a happy-go-lucky dance instructor. You're a business owner. You own a business.
I always say, you know how people say like, do what you love and you'll never work a day again in your life. I'm like, that is not true. Don't do what you love because then will hate it.
Because it'll become your job. And then when it becomes a job, it can lose some of its luster. Yeah.
Yes, I do still enjoy it. And I will say this, if it weren't for my sisters, there's no way I could not do this on my own. Like
really?
It's
even if you had like the help of like an accountant and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would need help, but I don't know if I could trust anyone as much as I trust my sisters.
That's a good point. Trust, and then also like there's something about like I have a pretty good relationship with my brother, so when we get into fights and arguments, it doesn't take very long to smooth it all over and move forward, you know.
Exactly.
It could be different with someone you didn't grow up with or someone you haven't known your whole life or and are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest, yeah.
You're the youngest of four, correct?
4. There's 4 of us and there's 12 years between me and the oldest. So we're pretty spread out.
You all look, that's crazy. 12 years? Wow. Yeah. It does not appear to be that. It looks like you were all born like the same year somehow. When the idea came, like, let's start a dance studio, were you guys all sort of like-minded? Because I know I don't know if it's a slogan or a motto or how you would say it, but it's on your website, it's confidence through dance.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I have a niece. I have a couple nieces and nephews, but my brother has a kid and she's just turned 4 and she's just starting to take dance classes and stuff like that. And I just feel like it's kind of an important thing. Like for a child, if you can kind of get your coordination down and like it does build confidence. And especially in a class setting when you can see other people and you can, you know what I mean? And not necessarily in a competitive fashion, but in a way that's like, okay, I can see what I might be doing wrong. And you grow quicker and you learn faster. I guess, was the confidence through dance, was that kind of already there when you guys decided to do it? Or was that something, were you all on the same page, I guess is my question, when you wanted to open the business?
I think that's pretty much what the studio was based on. When we started talking about like, oh, let's open up a dance studio, we were just, saying like, what kind of studio do we want it to be? And we're in LA where you have all of these incredible, amazing dance studios where there's professional dancers there taking classes, and it's so intimidating. It's so
expensive.
And expensive, yes.
Yeah. But the intimidation factor, that would be like, here's a professional ballerina, and here's somebody yelling at her. Like, oh, this is fun.
For sure, and it's in no disrespect to those studios at all, because that's what they're there for. But it's like everyone who's there taking the class, they're there almost like constantly auditioning. And we always were like, I want to go to a studio where I can just go dance and I want to have fun and I want to get a workout and I, want to meet new people and not feel like I have to have like my hair and makeup done. So that's what we wanted to create within LA, is like your typical Midwestern neighborhood dance studio, but we're in Los Angeles. And that's where the building confidence through dance came from, because we said like through our entire lives, growing up in dance classes, that is what made me comfortable with public speaking. It's what made me not afraid to be funny. It's all through dance. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, that's, was there, when you were growing up, obviously you took lessons, different types of dance, you know what I mean? You're kind of, I'm sure the idea is to be, at the beginning at least, sort of well-rounded in the idea of it, and then maybe specialize, or you become, you have a gift in a certain dance. I don't know. But were there teachers that you had growing up where you were like, I'm never going to do that to a student, or that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, or was it, were you always kind of like inspired by your teachers? Did you get that kind of?
I always loved my dance teachers growing up. I have to say, I always loved my Miss Ann, Miss Denise. I still to this day will call them Miss Ann and Miss Denise. I always loved my dance teachers. And even those moments where like they're a little mean to you, or you realize now, I'm like, oh no, that was for a reason. Sometimes you have to be tough on a kid.
Tough love. Yeah.
It teaches you lessons. At the end of the day, it's all, as long as it's coming from a place of love, it's okay to push them or to tell them to be respectful and stop talking. Oh.
I want to get to like the difference of, because you do such a wide variety of classes. Like you have, you have adults, and this is not just for girls or women. You know what I mean? I see you get guys. It is like you said. It's a workout. It's healthy, and there's different levels, and you guys seem to sort of cater to anybody. You know what I mean? Anybody who would be sort of willing to go, yeah, I want to do this. You would help them work it out, essentially. When you guys, what was I had a whole, well, fuck, why don't we just get into it, and I guess to the difference of, teachers. I want to say, I feel like with dance, it could be a lot like any teacher, in the sense that they had hopes and aspirations to do this thing, and then that sort of fell away, and they either fell back on teaching or realized that they could still stay involved in this process through teaching.
Exactly.
But some of them get burned out or get bitter or are pissed when like somebody comes up and is really good, and they kind of see themselves and the mistakes they made aren't being made, whatever. I mean, I just feel like you're very fortunate to have teachers that you respected and you enjoyed, and that were obviously enthusiastic and positive in your life.
For sure. And I think that because I grew up in the Midwest, maybe that's why, because you're not in LA where, you know what I mean? They were amazing dancers. And one of my teachers, Miss Ann, she was like a lovable, which is the Chicago Bulls cheerleaders, like things like that. Yeah. So it's like they were, but you're in the Midwest where everyone's like nice and friendly. I hate to say it, but like everyone's nice and friendly.
and I think in the Midwest, the idea of dance at that point, like with anything, like you get your kid involved in acting or whatever, it's kind of like, hey, this is sort of fun. Mm-hmm. Look at this. Whereas there can be a little bit more in Los Angeles or New York, where it can be a little bit more competitive. Like, this is what you're going to do, whether you like it or not. Exactly. And you're going to be a dancer. And that is, in my opinion, obviously detrimental when you do it with anything. When you force kids to play guitar, when you force them to take dance, do, act, whatever. It's the kid has to sort of want to be involved.
100%. I mean, growing up, like I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to do those things. I mean, I always joke I had a stage mom, because you still have to have a stage mom, but like I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you say stage mom, what can you give me a definition of that?
She thinks you're the best at everything you do.
But she's your real mom.
She's my real mom.
Okay.
My real mom.
Because I've heard of actors like a stage parent being someone that they go live with in LA, who just like takes them to auditions, but is like a friend of the family.
That does happen. But my real mom came with me.
And she is okay. And she
stapled all my resumes to my headshots and.
Which I've talked about with so many actors on this podcast, just about back in the day, you had to trim down and because the paper and the headshot weren't the same fucking size for some reason.
And my mom always had this theory. She hated stapling them. So we started using like the double-sided tape, because she was like, if a casting director gets cut on your staple, they're not going to give you the job.
But I mean, how many times I cut myself a million times? Like, oh man, I just wanted to just rip all my headshots and throw them away. Like, that was what we went through to just get an audition back in like the early 2000s. Even was
which ludicrous. Makes me appreciative that I'm not in the industry anymore, because I assume it's all via like social media and stuff, and I just couldn't even deal with that. Like, I just couldn't.
It's pretty. There are a lot of questions like, how many followers do you have in pitch meetings and stuff like that. It's highly looked at, I guess is a nice way to say it. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm kind of with you. It's like, can we just go on talent or no? Yeah. Okay.
That's just me sounding like old and crotchety now. Like,
I was going to say,
I have a TikTok.
And that's not to say that like I would go in and be like, everybody's like, oh, this guy's got a lot of talent, but no followers, so we can't hire him. I'm not having those issues. I'm just saying. But let's talk about the difference of adults and kids, because I feel you know, I look at when I was in college, even I was still a fuck up in college, and I didn't like, I wanted to be there, but I wasn't like, I cannot wait to learn and read and write. And like, I was just, I kind of went through that for the social aspect of it. But I remember like older people that would come back to school or be in a class that I had, and they would always be like taking it seriously. And I was always like, oh yeah, because they decided, like, they got out there and they were like, nope, I got to do this. And then now I'm really doing it. And I was always kind of inspired by that, and like how they were just like, yeah, I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm doing this right now. This is the deal. Is there any kind of like, are kids and adults more similar than they are different? Is it harder getting, I mean, wrangling kids is like, you know, wrangling stoned cats. I don't know how you get them to do
really
anything.
Is.
And you really have some of your students, I mean, you do like really little kids, like who, if they try to play an organized sport, it's one of those things where it's like they hike the ball and then everyone just runs into a different direction and they just disappear. And you're like, okay.
So we start at age 3, but we'll take 2.5-year-olds if their parents inquire. So,
wow. Okay.
Which at that age, it's honestly just about learning to participate. They've barely met anyone outside of their own family at that age.
Or know that they have.
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine 2 years old, 2.5, 3. It's like,
yeah. So it's really just getting them to like march and follow the teacher and learn. But we like start teaching them French, and when you're learning ballet, you have to learn French basically.
Oh, really?
So like from age 2, we're like, what does plie mean? What is, you know, so we drill them on that at a young age because we're insane. Yes.
Well, I mean, it sounds insane, yes, because the last time I looked at a 2-year-old, I was like, this thing is not capable of retaining any information.
Yeah.
But then they really are sponges. Kids are like, they just see and absorb and they take it in. And when you tell a kid something at a certain age, that's why like I learned to play guitar when I was younger. If I had to do that now, I would have a pile of broken guitars in the corner going, well, this is stupid. Music is dumb. I hate everything, because it would have been impossible to learn.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with a Cuban mother and she never taught us to speak Spanish. And I'm like so angry at her now because I'm like, I cannot learn Spanish now. I just can't.
It's harder to learn things, and it's like you already have all this stuff in your brain. Yes. It feels like there's no room for anything else. When you're a kid, it's empty. You're like, dandelions? Like, you don't know. You just, whatever.
Exactly.
So I think as psycho as it does sound, drilling a kid like, okay, come on, let's learn some French here, you 2-year-old. I think there is something to that where by the time they're 5 and 6, it's secondhand, you know?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. So it's getting them to learn to participate and know how to say to the front, to the side, and to the back in French.
Is that when you say, but when you say you learn, like you don't have to like learn French.
No, but
just
we teach
moves.
them the meanings. We do teach them the meanings because we think it's important for them to understand, like,
sure, where it's
yes, you know what a tendu is, but what does a tendu mean? It means to stretch. So like, we
tendu?
Tendu means to stretch.
In French?
Uh-huh.
Well, I have to go tendu. That's what I'll be saying next time I go do yoga. Like, I'm gonna go tendu.
Tendu.
And that was just me trying to do a French accent. I was in no way mocking the French people. When you get it, like, is there anybody? Because I know some of your classes are, like people want to get in shape. They're like more geared towards like I don't want to say jazzercise, but like a dance workout.
I haven't heard the word jazzercise in like 20 years, John.
I think I'm going to actually look up who started that or who created that, because I remember there used to be the grade school across the street from my house would have jazzercise like every Tuesday or whatever. And me and my brother would go ride our bikes and it would just be women in like leotards, like dancing and like, what?
And the key word there is grade school, John.
Yeah. Long time ago. But I was around for the invention of jazzercise. You heard about it as something that just gets mocked. You're like, oh, jazzercise. I was there for the beginning of jazzercise.
Okay.
I don't know what that. Why would I brag about that? But sorry.
We do have dance fitness classes for adults where we created this class called Dance Out Sculpt, where it's like follow along dance fitness, and then you also lift weights like
while you do it.
Choreography. Yeah. So I always say once you do this class, Dance Out Sculpt, you will never work out anyway ever again, because it's like fun. It ruins working out for you, because once it's fun, you're never going to just do reps.
Because working out is real boring. And I mean, I know there are people that can get into it, but any way that you can, and I don't want to say trick yourself into thinking, but it's like, like you say, if you're having fun, if you're enjoying anything, it doesn't feel like work.
Absolutely.
Like being on a hike is different than having to walk, to work or whatever. It's
and I feel like when I was younger, you have to remember I've had like 5 careers, so I feel like I'm 80 years old.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was like you would work out to be like, I'm going to burn this many calories and I'm going to sweat. And now I've reached an age where I'm like, as long as I moved around a little bit, that's fine. You know what I mean?
But it really is. It really is fine. It's like we've conditioned ourselves to think like, if I don't do 1,000 crunches and 100 push-ups a day, I'm nothing. Yeah. Whereas like 10 minutes of yoga, 25 minutes on a treadmill, walk around your block, try to get as many steps in a day as you can. Yeah. Like just don't be a completely sedentary piece of shit and you will be all right.
Once you start working out for your health and not your like appearance, everything changes. In my opinion, everything changes. Once you're like, oh, did I like get my heart rate up enough today and get enough steps in? Your life is so much less stressful for me. And I was also an actress. So
yeah, well, right. But I think there's a lot to that. There's a lot to that. And there's nobody like you, there'd be nobody that would come to you guys like so far gone that you would be like, you can't.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. I knew that was going to be your answer. I wanted to ask in case there was something like, I don't know why I asked, but just in case.
No, but it's true. And to be honest, I feel like we are actually the perfect place to start if you've never worked out, because it is fun. And we're not about like, burn this many calories and fit into that bikini. We're like, let's have fun and sweat and feel happy.
And before you know it, you're like, hey, this is actually, I'm able to move easier and better, and I feel better, and I've lost weight, and like, it just, that kind of stuff just happens over time.
Exactly.
It's just like, as you feel better. Mm-hmm. Obviously you had, your mom was supportive, like your sisters were, they're on the other side of the camera, you said, so they never got into the kid acting thing?
We were all child actors, and then
they moved on. God, what a family.
And then probably when they were like just about to become teenagers, they like just got more involved in school. I was the only one that like stuck with it and moved to LA for it. And
wow.
Yeah.
But they ended up producers and production coordinators and like that kind of like, because
exactly.
As I try to tell people, all the names at the end of a movie or a TV show are the people that actually made it happen.
They're the important people. They're the people you need. Yeah, so I moved out here with my mom, and then they all slowly followed us out here.
Trickled out,
and ended up behind the scenes, yeah.
Wow, crazy. You got into dance at an early age. Do you have like a favorite type of dance? Let's say, or like one that you kind of like over another?
Yes, of course. That's like asking a parent if they have a favorite child. Of course they do. No. I don't know. I'm not a parent. I don't know.
You just assume your mom likes you best.
Duh. No. Yes, I love tap dancing.
Tap, okay.
I don't do it a lot. I can't even remember the last time I put my tap shoes on right now, because I mainly am teaching hip hop, but I love tap dancing. And it is so much fun, and it's impossible to do it without a smile on your face.
I've never seen, I mean, it's not like I've watched a ton of tap dancing, but I've never seen an angry, like you're right, there's no like, look at this guy, he's a pretty angry tap dancer. Yeah. It doesn't, those things aren't like, he also hates kittens. Ugh,
no.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool, we have so many adults, I feel like, come to us to learn to tap dance for the first time ever. And I like admire them so much to pick up a skill like that at an older age, because it's so fun. It's like you're learning to play an instrument that's on your feet.
I was going to say, men are, you've got to understand this. Men are idiots. So like I'll do.
Oh, I know, Jon.
I would do things like to try to impress women. You know, I took a dance class with this girl I liked once, and it was like I think it was. Oh God, what kind of dance? It was. I can't remember what. I took a dance class with this girl. I did not care for it. It was not fun. I just did it because this girl was doing it. The instructor was a jerk. I thought he was kind of a dick. But what the hell was my point? Oh, fuck.
We enjoyed the journey.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes that happens. Indy, you weren't listening, were you? No, he wasn't listening. That's all right. Tap. I was going to say, as someone who has taken classes, tap is the dance that I think it would be really fun to sort of secretly be good at.
Yeah.
Like if I was on stage doing some jokes and then all of a sudden I was like, and like did some real tap dancing. I'm like, I think that would be kind of cool.
It's awesome. It is like tap dancing is so cool. I don't know how it got this reputation of being like da 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 top hat cane, like because it's not. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Well, I mean, yes, it is cool, but that top hat cane thing is also kind of part of it, right? I mean, that's
okay. No, because there is so many tap dancing groups out there now. Because there's a difference. There is Broadway tap, and then there is syncopated tap, which is where you tap more like to make rhythms rather than to be like da 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 da.
More like almost like a stomp or
yes, exactly.
That kind of thing. Like you're all sort of tapping in it's a group of people tapping in unison
to make
making
a rhythm.
The music. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So like in our tap classes, we tap way more to like hip hop music rather than.
Oh, cool. Okay. So you modernize. Yeah. You don't do. You must teach jazz hands a little bit, right?
Well, if you take musical theater, yes.
Okay. But I mean, do you guys like ever yell at students like, come on, get your jazz hands up?
Fingers spread further apart. Yeah.
Is it just a...
It's this. Yes, Jon, you're a natural.
I also have gigantic bear paws for hands. So it's just like, ugh. Don't do jazz hands anymore, guy. Put your hands in your pocket. Women versus men, boys versus girls. Is there different challenges between the sexes?
No. Honestly, no. We get so many emails from parents like, are there any other boys in the class? He wants to take dance. And we're like, who cares? So I always say one of my favorite things about dance versus sports, which I love sports, but it's not separated by gender. It literally does not matter if you're a boy or you're a girl or you're a they or a them. You have to learn the same skills. You have to learn the same techniques. So
yeah,
honestly,
and some people are going to be more coordinated than others, and some people it's going to come a little bit more natural to. But I think that's all just genetic makeup,
and
skill level.
If you start young enough and you have the right teacher, the most uncoordinated person in the world can learn to have rhythm.
I agree. I think, and again though, it helps if they start young, but
For
they
sure.
don't know. But you also don't know I guess you do kind of know. You can know you're uncoordinated at a young age. But I feel like kids are just sort of clumsy anyway, and they're just kind of figuring out their bodies. So
you can tell, I can tell who has a natural ability and who needs to work at it a little bit more. But that's true with anything, really.
Right. What is your? How quickly do you think you can you look at a kid and go, "Oh, this is going to be a challenge," or is there "Oh, I'm going to pretend I taught this kid a lot because she's a natural and she's going to look good."
Well, I mean, they all need to be molded. Even if you have a natural ability, you still need to be molded. But
yeah.
Honestly, just watching them walk across the floor, I can pretty much already tell.
If they don't fall down. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is some of these kids, when you go and you see your posts and everything, is they're so funny and they're so tiny. So it's just good for them. But also if they fall or whatever, they're so close to the ground, it doesn't matter. They're right back up. It's just
kids are they bounce right back up. They'll fall and I'm like, if that were me, I would be out for a month. How are you?
I mean, if it was me, I'd be getting new hips. You know what I mean? I did like one class, be like, ooh. But I like the idea of like kids getting involved. Like that's why I'm so happy my niece is involved. Like
it's so great. Yeah.
It really does. And I know like since the pandemic, you guys have been doing a lot of your stuff online.
We started with Zoom, and now we have an outdoor studio.
Right, I saw that. But also, are you still doing online stuff, or is it all strictly in person outdoor now?
For adults, we have a lot of virtual classes and on-demand classes, and then there are still some kids who take class virtually who they aren't ready to go outside because some people just aren't ready. But the outdoor studio it's so great. I mean, kids can only handle so much. Adults too. You can only handle so much virtual. After a certain point, you're like, you just need to connect in person with each other. So.
And you guys were fortunate. That looks like you guys are in the parking lot of your studio. So you have that space, or that space was already there.
Yeah. We started in our parking lot. Now we're in the courtyard of our local senior center.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Do you teach seniors too? Is there a seniors class?
There's no age limit on dance. If a senior wants to dance, they come to the regular adult class.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Skill levels are just taken into consideration within the class. You
Absolutely.
Don't break it up.
Yeah. You just give modifications, and nothing is divided by age or gender or.
It's very much like yoga.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's you know. Like my mom was like, "Oh, my shoulders! I can't do yoga. My shoulders." Like there's a yoga that does no shoulders. Like there's a yoga for everything. There's a dance for everything.
There's a dance for everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Can you see like when an adult comes and takes a class, do you see them kind of grow confidence, or is like
absolutely
no matter what they always walk away feeling better?
And that's not true of every dance studio and instructor. Again, no disrespect to those, but at our studio, we are adamant about everyone leaving feeling good about themselves, to the point where we like rotate lines during classes so that nobody feels like they're in the front row or in the back row. Like we keep rotating lines so everyone's in the front at some point. And we have like this big long thing written on the wall that basically says like, everyone here is a star. We're here to support each other. You can be who you want to be without judgment. And so we're very big on supporting each other and everyone leaving feeling good about themselves.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's great. I really enjoy the, in kind of just this world of like everything it's getting better, I think, in the sense that it feels like things are becoming more positive just as a whole. But it's nice, like things like your studio and getting kids involved, that like jump starts it. You know what I mean? That gives it a kick in the ass and gets it moving. About the virtual thing, I wanted to ask, is it, it's harder? Is it harder for adults if they're not in a class, or is it just dependent on, because I can do yoga by myself with a video and it's not a problem. When I first started, I needed to be in a class. Otherwise I wasn't going to complete the hour.
Sure.
So I didn't know if people were like experiencing like burnout or fallout or
not. It depends on the person. Honestly, it depends on the person. We have an on-demand channel where you can like access the classes anytime you want. But then when we film those, we also host them live on Zoom while we're filming them. So a lot of people, they subscribe to the on-demand channel and they attend it on live, because it's kind of like, if you know you have an appointment with yourself, like, oh, I have to do the class on this day at that time, you will. I'm that kind of person. I need group fitness. I need someone to tell me you have to do it on this day at this time. If it wasn't my job, it would be so hard to motivate myself to do it. I need like a class. I need an appointment.
So if you weren't teaching, you wouldn't be able to, like, I feel like, and I guess I don't know this about your sisters, but I feel like all of you, and I equate this just to your youth, but like everyone seems so energetic. And I know you have to be like get people up and ready. You're dancing. You can't be a sad sack and be a dance instructor. That's weird.
Yeah, but no, the energy's all fake.
Yeah. But that's what I'm asking is like, do you have to like, okay, turn it on, let's go.
Absolutely.
Woo. Okay.
It's honestly like being an actor. I feel when I go to teach a class, I feel like I'm an actor again. And it's like, okay, time to be dance instructor Paige.
That makes me feel a little better. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. That's nobody. The second I'm done, I'm like on the couch in sweatpants, just zoning out.
When you guys started the start of the process of like, I mean, you bought that space and then gutted it, right? Like there was like a demolition and like, and I'm like, I'm watching this online. I'm like, only young people could do this. You can't, only a young person could own a business in Southern California and make it work because it takes so much fucking effort.
It's so tiring. Building the studio was just like, it's the most exhausting thing I've ever done. I attribute it to being Midwestern girls, honestly.
Just starting and finishing. We're going to do it.
Hard workers. And our mom and dad were both like hard workers, pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, didn't come from any money and made themselves everything they were. My dad just owned his own business as well and worked to the bone. So I think we just get that from him and we were passionate about it. And it was just, you just can't think about it. You just have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And having each other was helpful, honestly, like I said.
Yeah, I couldn't have done it on your own.
Yeah.
You need people to like at least experience like you're going through it together is part of it. You know what I mean? Like all the ups and downs of that kind of shit. It's just not easy. And you guys also do, and I mean I say you guys meaning you and your sisters, I think all do this, but you do choreography for a lot of television shows.
Yeah.
What is that is that sort of through your connection, just being in dance your whole life, being in the entertainment industry?
Yeah.
How does that stuff come about?
I mean, there are dance agents and choreography agents that those do exist. And I have an agent for choreography.
I did not know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm, yes.
I'm an idiot.
Everyone has an agent. So I started booking choreography jobs just through connections. And I was lucky. My sister, when she was a production coordinator, she was able to get me in on some of her TV shows and help me build a resume that way. And then luckily they actually thought I was good and kept hiring me and calling me back for other projects. And then I was able to get a choreography agent. So
that's awesome. Cause that looks like a lot of fun. I except for the fact that you go from your studio where you're in charge and there's probably a lot less egos coming through the door because they're there to have fun. Then you go on set and you might be dealing with different egos, different levels of fame and
you do
arrogance.
Sometimes, but then at the same time, when you're the choreographer, you're kind of in charge. So it's up to you to set the tone of like, that's not going to fly. You know what I mean? So I've had dancers, come to a job and you can see them with their ego and it's immediately like, not going to happen. We're all equals here. And, so it's really up to the choreographer to set the tone. And it comes from the choreographer not having an ego, because the second the choreographer is like, I'm in charge, I know better than you, everyone feels the need to prove themselves. But
or it's just like, okay, yeah. You it takes the wind out of the sail. It's just not, when someone is like that, it's just not fun. So you're like, okay. Yeah, I was just curious if that was ever, anything that, and I wouldn't ask you to be specific. I just didn't know how easy that was or how fun that was. Do you create those routines do they give you like, is it like a Curb Your Enthusiasm where they're like, we want to hit these beats and this is sort of, we want some stuff like this, or this is a thing we like.
It's pretty much like it depends on the project, but for the most part, it's like you get the script and it'll give a description, the style of dance. They'll tell me how many dancers they want, what's happening in the scene. And then, I just kind of create it all from there. So
that's cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
And you enjoy that, obviously. It's not something that's like, okay.
No, I love it. And that's a part of me that still like loves being on set, because you can't shake that. Like, You can't ever shake that love of making movies and TV shows.
No, it's the audition process can definitely eat a turd. But yeah, once you get on set, you're like, I mean, that's the thing that keeps you going back to the auditions. Is like
it's like an abusive relationship.
You get in there, like, oh, we're having such a great time. The catering is so good. Everyone's so nice. And then it's like 6 more months of like being rejected.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will say I love it even more now that I'm behind the scenes. I've had so many opportunities to cast myself as a dancer in the things I'm choreographing, and I say no every time because I just like I can enjoy myself so much more knowing I don't have to be on camera.
Yeah. I mean, and that comes through and when you teach, you know what I mean? It's just like, you're not stressed. You're not, you know.
Yes, exactly.
Is there any kind of like, pandemic has been, you know, rough for a lot of people. How do you specifically, or you and your sisters, or as business owners, deal with kind of burnout? And I mean, there's got to be days, like you say, you turn it on and it's like acting, but I mean, there's got to be days when you're like, this ain't happening.
Absolutely. I mean, especially through the pandemic, it was like just the most stressful, not knowing what was going to happen, A, with the world, and then B, with your business
that you started fairly recently, that you're like, are we even going to be able to do this? Is this going to be a thing at the end of it all?
Absolutely. We've learned along the way. So we've had the studio since we opened in 2018. So we're coming up on our 3rd year.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
And thank you. And it definitely took some learning on how to not burn out and how to manage your time properly. And I mean, we had warnings from people who've opened restaurants and things like that before. And they're like, the first 2 years are 24/7. Just prepare yourself to like have breakdowns and cry and then have to get right back out there, and you just have to do it. And now I feel like even though we're in the pandemic, we've gotten much better at like taking a break if we need to, which is kind of impossible sometimes, but just, you know, managing your time better, I guess.
Yeah. Trying to find some sort of balance where it's not constantly just work, and it's not constantly just avoiding work. It's just some mixture of both.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's tough. And it's a skill to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Well, Paige, we're going to put up links to your, the studio's website, and, anybody who is thinking about, I mean, look, again, I think what I like about it is that it's a fun way to get in shape. And especially there's that saying, dance like no one's watching.
Our wall here at the studio says dance like everyone's watching.
I was going to say, like, dance like everyone's watching and you don't give a fuck, because like that's like, and again, I equate this to just getting older. You stop caring. Like, well, kooky old man. Like, yeah, whatever. I'm having fun. Who gives a shit? So like, I think if you're thinking about, you're working on trying to get into shape, whatever, this, like as an adult, this could be a really fun way to do it. And if you have kids, I mean, I don't have kids, but my niece is nonstop, constantly moving and talking, and it's, so just to be able to send them somewhere where they can then be instructed in something and hopefully come home tired. I mean, do you try to wear them out a little bit?
Absolutely. It's their PE for the day. It's their, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll, like I said, we'll put up the links, and we recommend your studio. There are others, like you said, there's more professional, but this is like a intermediate. This is a beginner to almost advanced, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have all levels. We teach all ages. Whether you've danced your whole life or have never danced before, there's a place for you here. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Paige. Really, thank you. A lot of fun talking to you, and best of luck with the studio.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John.